on today's Reved Up Reflections, I'm just going to touch on our customer service a little bit. Actually, I don't even know what how customer service is anymore. If it's any idea of me trying to call up a dealer and them not answering the phone, I called them up trying to place an order for something, and all they have is text at first. And, text is okay, I guess. I guess that's the way you're used to doing business. But yeah, if I'm ordering a part, I like to make sure I'm getting the part that I need, not text. So I called the dealer up. Called two different dealers. The one I normally deal with, and the other one called them just to get a price comparison, really. And the second dealer I called for the price comparison, I called and called and called and called and called, and nobody answered the damn phone. And I know they were open because I texted them. As soon as I texted them, somebody texted me right back and said, "Yeah, that part's available, and it's this much money, and it'll take this long to get." I'm like, "Yeah, okay. Well, I'd kind of like to talk to a real person before I give you my damn information or anything." Left a message, told them to call me back after I'm calling and can't get a hold of them, can't get a hold of them, can't get a hold of them. And I know my phone works because I called the other place and got right through. And ended up buying it from the place that I originally said that they could get it for me. Almost identical price. So as far as customer service goes, seems to be a death of it in a lot of industries. I don't know if people don't know how to actually relate to other people as far as customer service goes. Had this is going back probably I think 90th anniversary, so probably like 93. I was working on a Saturday, and we opened at 8, we closed at 12, and there was like one guy working on service. We'd rotate days, so everybody had most of the 3 weekends off a month. And no Sundays. This is way before they ever decided that Sundays would be a good idea. So we work half a day Saturday, 8 to 12, in service and up front. So I was working Saturday, and somebody came up. We closed at 12, and I'm still working in the back on race bike stuff. Get ready for Saturday night drag races. Or maybe I was working on my road race bike, something, but we're working out. Heard a bike pull up. They'd gone up front to get something off the shelf up there. And I saw these people, faces planted in the front door. I walked up, opened the door, looked at it, and I'm like, "You guys need any help?" And guy's like, "Yeah, you guys closed?" Well, yeah. He's like, "Well, can we take a look inside?" British guy and his wife. So I'm saying, "Oh, you guys are English?" I didn't say British, so I said English. He's like, "Yeah." And he explains that they just flew into Baltimore, BWI, and picked up their bike, which did have the inordinately large British tag on the back of it. And they were going to Milwaukee for the 90th, and then going, riding all over the place because it wasn't for probably another month or so before they're having the big event up there in Milwaukee. Guy comes in, him and his wife flip the lights on. I'm like, "Yeah, come on in, take a look around." So we're up there talking, and his wife's just grabbing stuff, and she's like picking size, anything to do with Harley stuff. She's pick, jackets, chaps, t-shirts, blah, 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 degalls, knickknacks, whatever, and sitting them on the counter. And I mean, we're talking expensive stuff. So I'm like, damn, I don't do the front end of the store stuff. Don't even know how to turn the cash register on or use a credit card machine. None of that stuff. So it's a Saturday afternoon, probably 2, 3 o'clock. I go over the phone, call my boss up, call the owner of the store. And I'm like, hey man, I don't know what you're doing. He's like, why? What's up? Thinking there's something wrong. I said, man, I got a couple of people down here that want to buy like a lot of stuff, and there's nobody here. I can't get a hold of anybody else. He's like, I'll be there in a little bit. So he shows up probably 20 minutes later. And these two people, this guy and his wife, they bought probably almost $8,000 worth of stuff in one setting, and wanted to know if we could ship it back to UK for them. And the boss is like, yeah, we'll have to figure out what the shipping's going to be. And the guy's like, yeah, just call me on Monday and let me know what shipping's going to be, and I'll give you my credit card number, and we can do that. That's what I mean by customer. And it wasn't just the idea of these people buying a lot of stuff. They did buy a lot of stuff. And that's a good amount of chunk for one Saturday afternoon, especially when you're supposedly closed. I could have just left the front door closed and totally ignored them, and we'd have missed that sale. You know what I got out of it? Attaboy, good job. Yeah, which, what do you expect? I'm not expecting anything out of that. That's just an example, a little bit of customer service. That's just courtesy, man. People are, thousands of miles away from home, and they need help. They want. It's not just about buying stuff. It could have been they needed air in their tire or whatever. I'd put air in their tire. I mean, that's why I went out there to see if they needed anything. You don't know. Bike pulls up, and they could have a flat tire. They could have whatever. That's going out of the way. Guy's broken down. He doesn't know where to go. You're the only one around. Why don't you help them out? That's what I mean by customer service. Not, oh, there's nobody here. Help your customers out. Actually, help anybody out. I've pulled over the side of the road and helped people out. I had a guy from going home from work one day, and we're not even talking customers now. It's just basic human decency. Seen two guys on the side of the road on my way home on some kind of import bikes. I want to say it was two CB350s or something like that. Actually, the one that was broken down was a CB350. So I pulled over and I'm talking to the guy, and I'm like, what happened, man? Well, his throttle cable had broke, and he had taken a pair of vice grips and put them on the throttle cable to be able to pull the throttle cable open. And he stuck the throttle cable open, and that basically over revved it and floated the damn valves and ended up breaking head of a valve off, and catastrophic engine failure. So, didn't want to leave the bike there. And I'm like, guy's like, well, do you know any place we can take it so it doesn't get stolen or anything? I was like, yeah, I can take it to my house, man. Loaded it up in the back of my truck and took it to my house. Just let me know when you're ready to come get it. I'll keep it there. Guy gave me his phone number. I gave him my work number and all this crap. And they came to get it. I told them I'd be home at such and such a time, and not to go get it if I wasn't there, because I had a neighbor that was pretty high strung. So told him, don't go there if I'm not home. So a couple of days later, they were just from Pennsylvania, I think. A couple of days later, Guy calls me up. He's like, "Man, are you going to be home tonight about 7 o'clock?" Yeah, I will be. So they come to get the bike at 7. They loaded it up. They drove from Pennsylvania, pickup truck, and loaded up in the truck and got them going. So that really has nothing to do with customer service. It's just human decency. I'm just telling the damn story here. But that being said, don't always, the customer isn't always right. I've heard that my whole life. The customer is always right. Maybe. Sometimes you have to educate the customers about why things are a bad idea. Guy brings in some product that doesn't work or causes problems. Yeah, for example, those little neon spark plug caps they used to sell. You'd take your spark plug off, take your spark plug cap off, and you'd stick this on there, and you'd stick your spark plug cap on top of that, and it would make it light up. Well, those things they look neat, but they cause problems. They do look neat, but they did have cause spark issues or ignition issues. We'll just say that. And we're talking like burning coils out and dropping cylinders when you're going down the road, stuff like that. Running on one cylinder, running on 1.5 cylinder, things like that. Bad parts, bad tires, whatever. You know, you need to educate the customer. Just because, especially nowadays. Well, even back then, they'll read something in Hot Bike magazine a long time ago, and that's the greatest way to go. I don't think you're going to be happy about that way it's going to turn out. And that's what I mean by the customer isn't always right. Sometimes you have to talk to them and give them a little bit of education that why you shouldn't use these parts or those parts, why you shouldn't put this particular accessory on your bike because it's gonna screw up. Uh, that being said too, guys go into the dealer and you hear it all the time, the dealership. And they're blaming the dealership for having prices. They charge what they charge. I'm sure whatever your specific business is, whatever you're doing, I'm sure people complain about you. You're a carpenter, you're obviously ripping people off, or you're a plumber, you're obviously ripping people off. You're a tax preparer, you're ripping people off. You're a doctor, you're definitely ripping people off. You're a lawyer, especially a lawyer, you're ripping people off. Speaking of lawyers, I had a guy come in a long time ago, and the way we did things was services are charged by a flat rate. So, you have a 5K service is this much money, 10K service is this much money, 2,500, 20,000, 15,000, whatever. They're all one price. 10,000 mile, which it was at that time $250. And you do a lot of stuff on an older 10,000 mile service. You do a hell of a lot more than you do now. You're pulling the wheel bearings out and inspecting them, and repacking the wheel bearings, replacing wheel seals, doing the fork oil, lubing the clutch cable, adjusting the clutch, lubing the throttle cables, checking the spokes, checking the belt, checking the charging system, all the fasteners on the bike, air pressure in the tires, brake pads, brake fluid, whatever. It's a lot of work. So you do enough of them, you get proficient at it, where you're like really quick to beat the time, and it only paid 4 hours. And you could do it in 4 hours. You could do it in under 4 hours, especially if you're really proficient at it. I had a guy come in and wanted to know how much 10K service was, so I told him, and it's $250, and he wants to know if he can wait. I'm like, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. So I go through and do the service. I know the guy's waiting, so I'm busting ass getting, and I got a checklist. So every time I do something, I check it off, to give to the customer. Yeah, it's been done. And I want to say I did it in like 2 hours and 15 minutes or something because I must have had a lot of coffee that day. So I was flying. So get done with it and take the work order up front, give it to the parts guy. And the way they bill it out is it's $250. That's parts and labor, but they bill the labor out as 4 hours of labor. So this particular guy, who is a lawyer, I didn't know he was a lawyer until he started. I'm a lawyer, you know. Basically refused to pay for it because he didn't want to pay 4 hours of labor, even though he'd already signed the work order, and that's what it is. Long story short, the sheriff got involved after he's threatening to take his bike and he ain't going to pay and this and that and the other thing. And I pushed his bike in the back in the shop, started up, wrote it in, locked the door in the back room, and that's when he called the sheriff department. And he really screwed up there. Sheriff, which I personally know, work on his one of the deputies personally work on his cop bike and his personal bike. Uh, he pretty much told him, "You're going to pay for that bike, or you're not getting it back." Yes, when the guy, I'm a lawyer and I do this, and you know, guys calling me, you know, every name in the damn book. And I stopped him. I said, "Look, I don't know how you do business, but I know that if I call a lawyer, I call my personal lawyer that I know, and I talk to him for 5 minutes, he's going to charge me an hour of labor." And the guy's excuse was like, "Well, yeah, he's got a JD after his name." Well, excuse me, but that isn't really good enough for me. You're being a snob right there. You should make more money than somebody else. And even though I can whip these things out really quick, the long story short, he paid. But I think I'm just rambling on now. So I'm going to cut it short. And, you guys that are in shops doing work, go the extra mile. You want a good reputation, go the extra mile. Do the stuff, and don't worry about the customer doing this or that or the other thing. You do good work. It gets out there that you do good work most of the time. So that's really all I got for today. Just rambling on now. Hope everybody has a good week and take care.